coordinators, and indeed a lot of new potential partners. So this is the agenda for, oh, sorry, the time is actually, as you know, 2 o'clock, but sorry. You get the picture. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the programme. My colleague John in the Department of Taoiseach will walk you through the aims and ambitions of the Shared Island programme as a whole. My colleague Sheila in the Creative Ireland programme will unpick all the elements of this fund, and then we'll have at least 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A. You're welcome to put Q&A in the questions and chat box, and we'll endeavour to answer as we go as well. A PDF of this set of slides will be on submit.com later on this afternoon, as will a recording of this event. So if there's other people you'd like to share it with, all of this will be available. So without further ado, just a very quick whistle-stop tour through what is the Creative Ireland programme. So we're an all-of-government programme based in the Republic of Ireland, with the audacious goal of increasing the well-being of the people of Ireland through participation in creative and cultural activities. And that breaks down in a practical sense to 5 pillars. So you'll often hear talk within Creative Ireland of the different pillars. And we're really focusing today on pillar 2, which is creative communities, but you can find out more about the programme as a whole. My colleague Emma will put our latest annual report in the chat to you, as well as a link to our website. So you can find out a lot more about all the pillars of Creative Ireland. And indeed, Shared Island is working across all of these pillars. But today we're going to focus on our shared creative communities on a shared island. So basically, excuse me, the Creative Ireland programme has been very lucky, and we're delighted to have received a considerable sum from the Department of the Taoiseach of 6 million over 3 years to be allocated across the pillars of the Creative Ireland programme to add a shared island dimension to our work. And you can see on the screen there the kind of the overall goals of this funding, which is really about, as I said earlier, increasing participation and opportunities for people to participate through creative activities. We have a focus on children and young people, which we'll refer to later. But this particular fund that we're here today to talk about is to support local authorities. Many of the local authorities on this call already have extensive links through town twinning or through the Donegal, Derry and Strabane partnership. So many of the local authorities possibly close to the border already have very strong links. But the feedback from the Creative Ireland coordinators last year was that many of you from as far away as Cork and Wexford would like to develop more of those links. So this is a specific grant call for local authorities. And obviously we are a very unique programme. There's nothing else quite like it in the world. And we're keen to kind of position what we're doing, demonstrating the value that this brings to well-being, to community participation, and to links between the two sides of the border. So that's the creative communities on a shared island in brief. So just to explain the breakdown of the 6 million over the pillars of Creative Ireland, we're here to talk about the €2.5 million fund today. We had an earlier call, which is now closed, for actions to do with climate literacy, climate action, through the lens of arts, culture and creativity, with a specific ring-fenced budget of €600,000 to support projects with a strong north, south, east, west. You'll hear from John that that means, of course, between the north and the south, but also with our neighbours in Wales, Scotland, the rest of the UK. And finally, we have a specific call for young people, which is why this particular fund that we're here to talk about today is not particularly aimed at children and young people. And that's because there's a whole separate pillar to our work under Creative Youth, which is already beginning to work in this area. So we will later be announcing a major grant to Fighting Words to do creative writing with young people north and south of the border. And some of you may have heard of Crinú na nÓg. This is a national day which celebrates the creativity of children and young people. It's on Saturday, June 10th this year. And all events are free on the island of Ireland. And this year we will be doing a number of events bringing young people north and south together through creative activities involving rap, circus, dance, etc.
Thanks, Tanya. Thanks very much. And that's a great insight into Creative Ireland for those of you on the call who may not know about the last 5 years of Creative Ireland. So we're going to hand over to John O'Leadon now from Taoiseach, who will give us an insight into Shared Island. John?
Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you, Tanya. So the eve is Misha John O'Leadon to make up relation Enid Ilan Co-Reinsa Stick and Shaw Ryan Taoiseach. So my name, as Sheila said, is John O'Leadon. I'm working with the Shared Island unit here in the Department of the Taoiseach. So I just want to this afternoon provide an overview of the Shared Island Initiative to those of you who may not be familiar with it, and also to those of you who may be already partaking in some of the strands of the Shared Island Initiative. So to start off, I can provide an overview of the aims and objectives of the Shared Island Initiative. So as Tanya alluded to, the Shared Island Initiative is a whole of government policy, and it was established at the end of 2020 by now Taoiseach former Taoiseach Micheál Martin. And the main objective of the Shared Island Initiative is to work with all communities and traditions on the island to build consensus around a shared future underpinned by the Good Friday Agreement. So again, building on the progress that has been made over the last 25 years to build connections throughout this island and these islands, both the north-south and east-west elements of it. So how are we going about this? Well, there's a number of areas that I'd like to touch upon across the next number of slides, but in a nutshell, it's about increasing our level of ambition for collaborative all-island cooperation, be that through dialogue, research, or investment. And this is very much aligned to the objectives that are in the programme for government and along with the National Development Plan. So how is this achieved? So we do this through a whole of government approach, and it's delivered by government departments and agencies here in the South. So an example of this would be the Creative Ireland, the Shared Island dimension to the Creative Ireland programme, where we're very lucky to have very skilled and adept colleagues in the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sports and Media that are working on the Creative Ireland programme and then working with many of yourselves to deliver very impactful programmes. And the ambition behind this is to build connections and understanding through the medium of culture, something that I think we can all appreciate is incredibly powerful and impactful. We also do this through working through all island partnerships. So with colleagues in the Northern Ireland Executive, colleagues at the UK Government Westminster, local authorities, and then through education and civil society partners. So again, many of the strands that I'll touch upon are delivered in close collaboration with these partners. And then the Shared Island Unit itself within the Department of the Taoiseach acts as a coordinator for the initiative, working with departments and agencies. So in the team here, there are 6 of us, but we are working very closely with colleagues from a range of government departments. And then, as I mentioned at the onset, the aim of this is building on the great progress that has been made as a result of the Good Friday Agreement. It's about fostering those relationships, north, south, east and west, working through the institutions, and then looking at where we can do more. And that really is the main objective of the Shared Island Initiative. So Sheila, if you wouldn't mind passing over to the next slide. So thank you very much. So as mentioned, there's three key pillars to steal a Creative Ireland phrase there, but there's 3 main areas of the Shared Island Initiative. The first aspect is on the Shared Island Fund, so building a shared island. And I'll talk a little bit more about the projects, but a case in point is the Shared Island aspect to the Creative Ireland programme, where €6 million has been allocated from the Shared Island Fund to progress this particular aspect. Then also in the area of inclusive dialogue. So some of you may have attended our Shared Island Dialogue events in the past. So over the last 2.5 years, we've had dialogues that have heard from over 2,800 individuals across the island of Ireland on topics as diverse as sport, tourism, health, young people. And also we had a very successful event on arts and culture which took place in Mandela Hall in Queen's University last October. Then we also had a recent event on media representation on the island of Ireland. And then we have an upcoming event on the 16th of June on educational systems on the island of Ireland. So again, these shared island dialogues, the aim of this is to bring stakeholders together in a room to talk about the issues of common interest and to see how best we can work towards tackling some of these challenging areas. And then also our research program, which over the last 2.5 years has focused on building a strong evidence base for greater North-South, East-West cooperation. So this has been progressed in partnership with colleagues in the ESRI, colleagues in NESC, and in a range of further and higher education institutions. So to date, we have high quality outputs, which are all publicly available on our website, sharedisland.gov.ie, on areas such as healthcare, education, productivity, migrant integration. And again, it's about developing a greater understanding of what are the shared challenges that we are facing on both of these jurisdictions on this island. Also, just to mention on the inclusive dialogue piece, I know from looking at the attendance list in advance of this event that we've had the good privilege and good fortune to speak to a number of you on the various projects that are taking place in your own areas. And the Shared Island Unit looks to speak with groups from across the island to understand how best ourselves as a unit can coordinate the work that is taking place to ensure that it's impactful and is felt in communities and on the ground. So just on the Shared Island Fund to date, just to give you a flavour of some of the projects, just on the next slide there, Sheila, please. Thank you very much. So just on the allocations to date. So the Shared Island Fund is an unprecedented commitment of investment from the Irish government to North-South collaboration with a €1 billion commitment out to 2030. And to date, since the fund was established in late 2020, over €190 million has been allocated from the Shared Island Fund. So as we say, 190 million down, quite a long distance to go. But we're constantly engaging with departments, north and south, to look at areas where we can progress really impactful projects that can really move the dial in terms of North-South cooperation. So to date, just to give you a flavour of some of the areas where the Shared Island Fund has been allocated to date, in the area of community climate action. So the Community Climate Action Programme, 3 million has been allocated to that. This would be a programme that would be rolled out through community climate action officers and offices across the local authorities in the south. And I would really encourage those of you who are involved in that space to keep an ear out for this and to be and to listen out for announcements that will be made in this area. Also, an area of common concern is very much the idea of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So 15 million has been invested to progress a sports club EV charging scheme, which will hopefully see the launch of 200 EV charging points in sports clubs across the island of Ireland. Again, something very visible and impactful. Also in the area of cross-border peatland restoration and all island invasive species. So again, these areas of common concern about how best do we ensure a more sustainable island. Then in the areas of research and economy, we've invested 20 million in co-centres for research and innovation. And this is a partnership between ourselves, Northern Ireland Executive, and the UK government. And the idea behind this is to look at how best we can improve the research offering provided by the fantastic higher education institutions we have on this island. And that will look at initially at the areas of food security. Then also our North-South Research Programme, which has progressed through institutes of higher education. Then quite a landmark project that we announced back in November was 7.6 million allocated to progress a linking up of the Wild Atlantic Way and the Causeway Coastal Route tourism brand. And again, that's to build on the fantastic work that's been done on both sides of the border, but looking about how we can improve the offering that we provide to both tourists on the island, but international tourists as well. And then in the areas of infrastructure, where I think sometimes it's often felt that this is the area where the Shared Island Fund can unlock these projects that have been on the books or have been spoken about for a long period of time. So again, in the area of the Ulster Canal, which will be a huge piece of tourism infrastructure in the northeastern border regions. Also the narrow water bridge connecting Carringford and Warren Point. Then also 5 million has been allocated for the cross-border shared island local authority development projects. So again, I know that there's some of you within the virtual room this afternoon who are involved in those projects. And what this involved was the allocation of funding for pre-investment feasibility studies for local authorities to progress pre-investment studies to see where local authorities could come together to look at areas of common concern. So again, I'm aware that in the cultural space, there's 2 projects that colleagues in Galway City Council with counterparts in Derry and Strabane and Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon councils respectively are working on really impactful projects. So we're looking forward to seeing the output of that. Then also sticking with the arts space, 7.4 million has been allocated to a number of arts investment capital projects, which we're hoping to be in a position to announce further details on in the coming months. And then finally, but definitely not least, the 6 million which has been allocated to the Creative Ireland programme. So that's the kind of the headline allocations to date, and we're hoping to announce a number of further projects in the coming months, and again kind of raising the level of ambition for North-South investment cooperation. So then on to our intentions for the remainder of 2023, which is going very, very quickly, but we're looking to advance projects in the area of higher education, healthcare, enterprise, climate action. Again, no surprises here. These are areas where there's been great North-South collaboration in the past, but the idea of the Shared Island Initiative is to bring this to an unprecedented level. With the Shared Island Dialogue series, so as mentioned, our next event will be on the 16th of June. And they will be on the 16th of June, and that will look at educational systems. We'll also be convening a young people's forum where 80 young people from either side of the border will be brought together to think about what this island could look like in the future and how we could best collaborate. And then also we'll be convening a number of policy roundtables. Unsurprisingly, as someone who works in the Department of Taoiseach, I am a bit of a policy nerd, and we enjoy bringing people together to see how these whole of government challenges could be tackled. And then finally, we'll be progressing the Shared Island Research Programme with the idea that having an evidence base behind these policy initiatives can only strengthen them and make them more impactful for those that we're looking to target. So then finally, just to say that further information on the Shared Island Initiative as a whole is available on gov.ie/Shared Island. My contact details can be provided afterwards as well, and those of the unit following the event this afternoon. And we're looking forward to seeing the level of interest that comes into the creative communities on a shared island. Really looking forward to seeing how local authorities and partners are looking to work in this area, and looking forward to engaging with yourselves over the next number of months. So thank you very much.
John, thanks very much. And even though it might seem like there's a lot of information to take in on that link there that John has shared with us, there is a very comprehensive report, an overview from 2022, which unpacks all of those amazing initiatives, including the ambition for ourselves. So that's well worth a read if you're just new to this space and aren't aware of all of what has gone on before. That's a fantastic report. And we're here today, I suppose, to play our small part around creative communities. And Tanya will have said, she'll have outlined to you how we're one pillar within the broader Creative Ireland programme. But I suppose for the last 5 years, Creative Communities has represented a partnership between central and local government, promoting participation in cultural and creative activity. And we've sought to increase through creative communities the opportunity for this engagement and Many of the coordinators, the Creative Ireland coordinators in the local authorities are on the call today. So just some background information for those of you who don't know. The partnership is represented through culture and creativity teams within local authorities. Those teams take their in-house existing expertise and they offer support to drive the ambitions of creative communities within local authorities. And the idea is to enable a shift in how culture and creativity is valued within local authorities, but to do that collaboratively with communities and with all of the to take on board the strategic priorities that local authorities might have. And you'd be surprised at how common they are, no matter whether you're in the north or the south. So the fund that, as both John and Tanya have said, Creative Ireland has been allocated 6 million. 2.25 million of that will be allocated under creative communities under 2 different strands. And we're here today to give you hopefully an insight into some information that might give you sort of food for thought as you maybe progress a conversation with a partner. The objectives of the scheme are built, I suppose, on our own objectives for creative communities, which is essentially connecting people to people. So how do we use culture and creativity collaboratively to promote people-to-people, community-to-community engagement? And how do we do that through the lens of cultural and creative engagement? So we believe that by enabling communities to work together through the lens of cultural and creative engagement, we will deliver on the principles of the shared island. And even though, you know, we talk about the Good Friday Agreement and it's been in the news, you know, because of the 25 years, and I think that many of us on this call will remember where we were 25 years ago. And we might think that it's about the North, but actually at the heart of it, it's about the principles, the institutions and the processes. So it's the totality of those relationships between the communities on the island of Ireland and Britain. So that's what we're trying to enhance, is those is that Good Friday Agreement and what is at the heart of it through initiatives that can be strategically planned and also can have a sustainable legacy. Again, the work of Creative Ireland in the first 5 years, we know from the culture and creativity teams in the local authorities that the tangible effects can be there if they're built over a period of time. And that's the beauty of this fund, I suppose. This fund allows your project to be delivered over a 3-year period. There aren't many funding schemes that allow you to do that. So in 2023, it might be just a small part of the initiative and building to 2024 and 2025. But that also means that there's only one call. We're just doing this one call in 2023. So it's important that the planning that goes into your proposal is considered over that period of time. We're building on the principles and values of creative communities. And if you're not aware of them, I've just put them up here, but they're also in the briefing document, which I think has already been shared in the chat. I suppose rather than throw the baby out of the bathwater, what we're saying is we're looking for projects that adopt a creative approach, engaging across lots of sectors. It can be, you know, heritage, it can be anything that is local, community and creative. And that can, I suppose, develop and continue to develop vibrant communities, because we all live in a community of some kind. So these are just there as guiding principles and values to take on board as well as you consider an application. I see a little bit in the chat and we can answer the questions later on. The framework that we operate creative communities in is with the 31 local authorities. And that is the framework that we're using then to deliver creative communities on the shared island. So we have built this relationship, this partnership with local authorities over the last 5 years. But they don't work in isolation. You know, they're very open to partners, and we've had many partnerships and collaborations through young people, through health and wellbeing, through climate, that again are available through the report that was shared in in the chat earlier. Now, they're not on their own. They need partners, and that's why we're hoping that people on the call today will find the opportunity to link together. And these partners can be, and this, this is not limited to, but these are suggested partnerships that could work, or that exist and that we don't know of. And that there's an opportunity to build not just business as usual, but to build that community, people-to-people piece that you're already possibly doing in the work that you do, but you're doing it at this time on a shared island basis. So that means that the applications must be submitted by a local authority, but it doesn't have to be the Creative Ireland coordinator in the local authority. It just must be a member of the culture and creativity team within the local authority. John has already referred to the fact that it's east-west, it's, it's the relationships on the island of Ireland and between Ireland and Britain. But it is imperative that the funding is shared fairly with partners and that the meaningful activity happens on both sides of the border. We've done that with Crinne na nÓg, and I saw there was something in the chat there about Crinne na nÓg, where we have worked with an all-island network, ISACs, who have created exchanges between young people in the north and the south for the purpose of Crinne na nÓg. The application process is fairly straightforward. We're using an online system software called submit.com. As I say, it will be for the local authorities to apply, but there is a Word document, there is a reference document there for the purposes of partners understanding what's in it, rather than everybody logging in together and understanding and filling in bits and then logging out. And that's just I suppose that's an operational thing. We tried to give you an insight into the things that are covered. So, for example, we realize that, especially if it's over a 3-year period, that you will require support to deliver it. And you can include a contribution towards either the cost of doing that. We are looking, if you're engaging with a creative, whether it's an artist or another type of creative, we're asking you to use the guidelines provided by the Arts Council on paying the artist. Obviously, everybody's interested in climate and biodiversity, and so we're looking for low carbon solutions that are environmentally friendly to the project, so if possible, if and where possible. We also recognize that, and John has told you about what's happened already. We want to be able to obviously share the learnings from these projects as we go forward with creative communities on a shared island. So we would expect that there would be some level of evaluation and reporting, and those costs can be included. Communication and engagement costs are eligible as well. So, for example, if you have to, if you don't have the network and you need to shout about it in the first instance, that is an eligible cost within the application. Ineligible costs are, we're not here to fund your organisation as it exists. We're trying to add value to what it is you do or what this project might be able to do. So it's not about, there was a recent, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a recent Heart of the Community Fund from the Ireland funds where they actually took on board just paying for the capacity of an organisation. But that's not where we're at. Obviously, if a project is already in play, we're not going to pay for expenditure that has taken place prior to the project approval. It's not a capital fund, so it's not for building improvements. However, if there is equipment or something like that, something minor required for the purpose of the project, that can be considered. Applications relating to television series or standalone advertising campaigns aren't eligible, as are standalone conferences. So if the conference is happening and it just happens to be moving people north and south, there is funding from Fáilte Ireland for those type of costs. And it's been said already about youth projects, and the reason we're not looking for youth-led projects in this instance is that our colleagues in Creative Youth will be having an open call later in the year, and have already put, as Tanya said, in play a partnership with Fighting Words. And we ourselves are working with strategic partners for Crinan and Oak this year. Now we've been doing that in a very small way in 2023, but we will be looking to develop that further in 24 and 25. But for this year, we're working with ISEX, as I said. I think they're on the call, the Circus Explored, and with GMC Beats with a project called Rhyme Island, and RTE Kids, This Is Art competition has been an All-Ireland competition since it started in 2020. This is how your project will be assessed. So obviously the community people-to-people piece is one of the most significant parts of your application, as is the partners in the project team. There must be evidence that you're collaborating on the island of Ireland or the Ireland of Britain access for the purpose of the project. Obviously, because we are Creative Ireland, and we've already said that participation in culture and creativity is our core proposition, we're looking for the creative and culture approach. There are the marks available. All of that is on the submit.com. It's all very obvious and hopefully easy to navigate. So we are going to have a closing date of the 30th of June, which gives you a number of weeks to connect, to collaborate, and to consider what it is you might be able to do. We will announce the successful partners in August, anticipating that the projects must start in 2023. So there must be some element of the project that begins in 2023. And as I said already, there is the software, or the online application portal is submit.com. But I suppose for those of you who don't know who the Creative Ireland coordinators are, and many of them are on the call, these are your first point of contact within the 31 local authorities, and they can facilitate either further conversation or connect you. We're all about joining the dots and connecting the networks within Creative Ireland. And as you know, local authorities, they do everything from roads and housing to climate to waste management. So, depending on what your project is, the Creative Ireland coordinator will be able to help navigate the local authority for you. So that's where we're going to stop. We're going to stop talking, and we're going to look at the questions in the chat. I think some of them might have been answered, but I'll go now from where they haven't been answered.
Or if anybody wants to put up their hand, just raise their hand and unmute yourself.
I see, yeah. Or if anyone feels that their question hasn't been answered.
I can't see any hands raised, Sheila, but maybe,
No.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I do. Ethna, unmute yourself there.
Sorry, thanks. And thanks, Tanya, and thanks, Sheila, for that great overview. So just a quick question. The application, confirming, comes via a local authority. Is there a requirement then in terms of the number of local authorities that can be involved and the match in Northern Ireland? So is it 1-to-1? Or maybe one local authority leading within the Republic that might involve 2 or 3 others linking into, does it have to be a local authority in Northern Ireland, or it can be a community partnership or arts partnership or whatever?
Yeah.
So in terms of local authorities, that's my question, the number and the mechanism. Yeah.
No problem. And I probably should have said more about the 2 different strands. So strand 1 is a collaboration between 2 or more local authorities of the 31 local authorities and partners in the north. It's up to that collaboration to decide how many partners in the north. And that is 250,000 over the 3 years. And then the the smaller the strand 2 is 50,000, and that can be one local authority with a partner in the north. So yeah, but the first strand 1 must be a collaboration between 2 or more local authorities, and there will be 4 of those larger scale projects, and one of them will be for a collaboration of the local authority the border local authorities.
Okay.
Because a lot of work, and there's people on this call who can speak to it, like Donegal, for example, they already have in place a working relationship with Derry City and Strabane District Council, as have others.
Okay.
Holly, do you contact your local arts office? No, within the slide pack there, the Creative Ireland coordinator contact details are there, and this presentation will be sent to anyone who's on the call.
And Holly, I maybe should just add, because oftentimes we're confused with an arts programme. Many of the Creative Ireland coordinators are heritage officers, librarians, directors of service. It is not only an arts programme, and creativity is defined in a very wide way. Of course, it includes the arts, but it also includes heritage, graffiti and street art, as you know. And shall we say we take maybe a wider interpretation of creativity than a straightforward arts programme, if that makes sense.
Yeah, culture-based programme. Mags?
Hi, hello.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Greetings from sunny Belfast. I feel like it's Eurovision all over again. So you can hear I'm from Dublin originally, but I live here in East Belfast, and we have a wonderful group of local women in East Belfast who are really keen to develop some cross-border collaborations and partnerships, not just on the border counties, but we're looking as far afield as Galway and Cork, everywhere. So I guess strand 2 is where we would fit into the applications. Would that be right? Great. And do I, for facilitating it, do I reach out, identify the counties or the county councils that we're interested in contacting, and then just contact them directly and say, hey, we're here, can we get a chat?
Yes, that's the whole point of, I suppose, you know, there's going to be the formal, but we're looking to the informal, and we're hoping actually in parallel to do a sort of creative conversations piece around this discussion. Like we're here today, just you know, this is our first out in, if you like, into the process. So we're hoping to support conversations even in parallel, even if you're not successful. It's important that we continue this creative communities on a shared island conversation. But yes, contact the local authority. All of the email addresses will be in the presentation when you receive it.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Thanks a million. Thank you.
And Sheila, could Mags not apply for the 50,000 together with the local authority?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to do. We've already got some ideas, and I start to tentatively explore sort of, you know, suggestions, that type of thing. But this is really exciting. So thanks again for including us in the invitation to listen today.
You're welcome. Ross, I think you're next.
Hello, I think you mean me. It's Rose Nigovon here, and thank you very much for taking the time to explain all of that. It was really interesting. My involvement is that I run various projects in Rostrevor, County Down. We're on the border. We're a border town, a small village which has always I suppose outperformed in the cultural side of things, in that we have an awful lot always going on here, all volunteer led. But in part, I think because of what's happening in Stormont, and also the lack of funding for the Irish language in particular in the north, we're just reaching a total ceiling on everything that we can achieve. So, for example, I'm teaching 60 children this afternoon. They're doing a play at the weekend, which is all about the life of Saint Brona, who is our local patron saint, but it's cross-community because she's revered by the Church of Ireland as well. We couldn't get any funding for it at all. We can't get any funding for Irish language teaching at all in Rostrevor. And the only means by which these children are learning Irish music and Irish culture is through my very amateurish attempts to teach them. The reason I'm raising it is because we have applied for funding. We've applied to the Irish language streams in the council, and although our projects have been eligible, there's been no money. So really what I wanted to ask is, when we're talking about, because I understand the entire point is about shared island culture, but how is this issue with Irish language teaching in schools in Northern Ireland going to be addressed as part of this? Because it shouldn't be the case that you have to go to a knee skull or a bun skull in order for your children to have access to a language which is in such an important part of their cultural heritage. So sorry, that's a little bit
thank you for that.
All over the place,
sure.
but I just wanted to explain the background so you understand where we're coming from on it.
Thank you. I'm afraid we're not the fund for you in relation to teaching Irish in schools. Our colleagues in the Gaeltacht division do have other resources, and John may want to say a bit more from Taoiseachs, but this isn't the kind of fund that's going to support that, unfortunately.
Yeah, but
John,
it is the sort of fund that supports. But it is the sort of fund that supports the cultural activities that come from children having learned Irish. What I'm saying is, because I'm running a choir and drama groups and all sorts, which presumably are within scope. But the bedrock for all of that is the children have to be able to learn their language first.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid what I'm saying is we're not the bedrock about teaching Irish in
yes.
schools. The cultural output, absolutely. We will be running a slide rule over the exchange. And this isn't just to your comment, it's just so everybody is clear. So it's not about two wholly separate projects, North and South. The questions we would be asking if any application is, where are these people meeting? How often are they meeting? What is the level of exchange between the communities? So just so we're clear, it isn't I'd like to go up to Donegal with one team and do one thing and then I'm over in Antrim doing another and these people are never meeting up. The one point I guess Sheila has underlined is it is people to people. So that will be our question, looking at your budget, looking at any application, unpack for us the amount of contact the communities on both sides of the border will be having. John, did you want to say more about Irish language teaching?
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Tanya, and Gormagat Rose and Guest. I don't want to go too much into it because I know that people have questions regarding the creative communities on a shared island piece. Rose, just to say we are engaging quite closely with Tanya and Sheila's colleagues in the Gaeltacht division in the department. As part of this, we have allocated funding towards Irish language projects and Ulster Scots projects in the north. If there's a particular project or if we want to discuss further offline, happy to have that conversation. I can share my email address with you directly in the chat now.
Okay,
and actually, thank you, Sri, for putting that in the chat. Just in case there's any confusion, there are obviously plenty of communities north and south whose language could be Polish, Romanian, Arabic. So just in case this isn't a sort of just Irish and English language, there may be local authorities on the call who want to do something. We have a massive Polish speaking community here, and there are also in Northern Ireland. You might want to do something that is in a number of different languages, just to clarify that.
Okay, thanks Tanya and John. And Rosie Norton.
Hi, how are you? And greetings from County Mayo. How are things? Really informative session, guys. Thanks a million. And while I was just listening to Rose there, I'm actually so I'm a socially engaged artist. I work here in Mulranny, and I've submitted some grant requests via our local authority, and I'm working on a project with seniors at the moment around memory, heritage and traditions. But I also have another strand to me, which is about Grace O'Malley. So just listening to Rose, the previous speaker there about Brona, my head is just going, I'd love to have your email, Rose, if that's okay, and maybe there could be something there. So yeah, that was my, I suppose, initial question. Working with the local authorities, so I know who our Creative Ireland contact is. But yes, the questions have been previously answered, but if Rose would be interested in maybe sharing her email address, maybe we could discuss something further.
Great. Thanks, Rosie. and Sinead McDermott. You're on mute, sorry. Yeah.
I could get unmuted because there was a slide in front of me. I was just wondering, I'm a dairy girl based in Belfast. Is there a portal where Northern Ireland individuals can respond to a call from partners with local enterprise offices, specifically with arts related projects?
No, what you'll have from today is you'll have the list of Creative Ireland coordinators, and I suppose that's where the chat is. Now, we are working with colleagues in the north. So the Department of Communities in Northern Ireland will have information on this call, on this open call. But I mean, you can contact us directly. Our email was in the chat there, Creative Ireland at Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sport and Media.gov.ie, if we can help you any further.
Okay, thank you so much.
Trish?
Hiya, thanks Mel, everyone. Just wondering, I'm just slightly concerned that we're an arts organisation based in Dublin. We do a lot of work cross-border, cross-community, but I'm just wondering, have a lot of the local authorities already identified a project? Have the things in mind? I'm just mindful of people's times and energy, and what's the capacity at a local level, and how can we best connect in with a local authority that might be open to receiving applications for partnership, if that makes sense.
Indeed, yeah. No, I understand that we're networking here in a virtual way. So how do we continue to network? It's a good question, and I suppose I can ask everybody if they're willing to have their emails shared. I'll have to look for that consent after this, but I do have the capacity to do that, and if that's the case, I can include that with the presentation.
Great, thanks, Mel.
Lucy, you had a question. Do the local authorities in the south need to partner with local authorities in the north? No, the partner in the north doesn't need to be a local authority. And then Tech Ireland, 1st of June. Okay, there's information for everybody. So there's a potential partner there. And was there one above that there? Michael O'Halloran, can a county council partner with more than one organization? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's all the questions in the chat. Any more hands?
Oh, I think there was something about, yes, schools. Harry, this project isn't aimed at children in schools in the north and south. I don't know if my colleague Kate is on the call and she can kind of talk through the creative youth element. Are you there, Kate? But sorry, in case this wasn't clear in Sheila's presentation, this is not a fund because there are so many other things coming under creative youth.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. I look after the creative youth strand of the Creative Ireland programme, and currently we are. I mean, this year we're doing some work with Fighting Words North and South in relation to reaching, cross-border community to community for children and young people. But there will be more opportunities late this year and into next year in relation to specific projects that may target children and young people. So further details, it is kind of, if you keep an eye on our website and make sure you're on the newsletter, there will be kind of other opportunities late into this year and into 2024. I mean, we also have a lot of down the south, a lot of creative youth initiatives in schools at the moment. So if you go onto our website, we partner with the Department of Education on creative youth initiatives in schools. So hopefully that's helpful.
Adam, thanks for it would be great if we could share just emails. Not sure how to do that, except that within the Creative Ireland programme, all of the projects from creative communities, from the local authorities, there's an individual page for each of the local authorities. And, every year there's 1,000 projects delivered by local authorities. So it would be hard to share everything, but I'm just going to share the link there now of where you can look at the types of projects that local authorities have been doing for the last number of years.
So you can click on any particular local authority, and the coordinators on this call have uploaded their projects. Can I just say something that's kind of shining through a lot of the Creative Ireland work is about targeting people who wouldn't perhaps normally be able to lean in to opportunities. So older men, huge issue. Rural Ireland, huge issue. You know, people with disabilities, older people. Not saying that that has to be the focus of your project, but oftentimes we go to the nearest, arts attenders. And I would just ask you, I'm sure there's plenty of particular target groups that you have, and we're certainly interested in those who perhaps have least access to those opportunities. We have, just so you're aware, separately, and I believe my colleague Valerie may be on the call, we've done a separate call already for all island traveller projects. And in that instance, the applicant could be a traveller organisation, north-south. So that's a separate fund specifically for travellers.
And as Tanya said, there'll be further call-outs later in the year. So within the briefing document and the frequently asked questions, there's a link there to sign up to our newsletter, which makes sure that you get any other opportunities that we will be rolling out as well. But as I said, we're hoping in parallel, and it's not a fully formed idea yet, but we have done creative conversations in the past to, you know, continue these conversations in a shared and open way. And thanks to everyone who's putting into the chat saying they're willing to have their email shared. So in the first instance, I'll share the PDF, and you know, I'll have to do just a check to make sure that everyone, there was 150 people registered. So I will just check with everyone.
Yes. Did everybody write their organisation down, Sheila, or do you just have a name and an email address? Because it might be hard if people don't know what organisation the email is attached to. I don't know what you want on Eventbrite.
No, I think the technology allows for name, email, and organisation. If that's everything, we're just coming up to the hour and we don't want to delay people. Lots of partners putting their emails there into the chat. We can share the chat as well with people. But if that's it, we'll say thank you and we look forward to hearing more.
Thanks, Emil.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much, Sheila.
Thank you.
Bye now, thank you. Interesting also.
Yeah.